Hi everyone, Catherine here from Inky from Good Cat. I'm actually doing this as a video, but which is obvious because you're watching it. But it's also my design team contribution for Addicted to Stamps and More. I don't often video when I'm doing the ones for the challenges, but for some reason today I decided to. So the challenge is make your mark, which means just use some kind of colouring medium and colour things in, or stamp with something. Use an ink. It's a really vague, non-specific kind of thing. So hopefully loads of people will join in with the challenge and join us over on the blog. So I decided I wanted to play with Eclectic Bouquet from Altenew, and I wanted to do some watercolouring, and this time I decided I wanted to use my hot pressed watercolour cardstock. Gosh, my words have all gone funny tonight. So unlike normally I record things and then do voiceovers in the morning. Tonight I'm doing the voiceover after I have created the card. I am quite tired. That's probably why my words have all gone. Anyway, I stamped it using Sahara Sand, which is like a really pale, creamy brown colour, a very old Stampin' Up! Ink, and then I am watercolouring very badly. I am not a painter, I am not a colourist, but this technique doesn't really matter because this is basically messy and quite loose on purpose, so it really doesn't matter because then I'm going to emboss over the top of it. So when I say this, please don't think that I think that she's a terrible colourist, because she's an amazing colourist. But Amy from Prairie Paper and Inks basically showed me how to do this. Kind of the whole, it really doesn't matter what your watercolouring looks like, because when you emboss over the top of it, it'll all look great. But she's actually really good at watercolouring as well. But it was watching her videos is where I've learned to free myself up a little bit and to do this technique. So I do know vaguely where shadows sit, and so I've kind of put the darker colours in where that is. But really I'm just using a whole range of different distress inks to colour both of these bouquet stamped, like large floral clusters. And then what I'm going to do is dry them off quite well so that I don't end up with embossing powder where I don't want it, and then re-stamp them using Versamark and then heat emboss with gold powder. So there's a couple of things you need to remember if you're going to do this sort of technique, and that is keep your stamp in your stamp platform. Do not move it. Do not do anything with your cardstock. Do not change the size of your cardstock so that you can stamp it exactly the same place again. Now what I did was I stamped it twice by turning the piece of cardstock around, and there is definitely enough room to do both of them. So yeah, that's what I did. And as you can see, I used a lot of different colours of distress ink, and then I just mopped it up with some pieces of cardstock, and I'll use those, I'll pop them in the sort of like ready-made backgrounds pouch, and then they can be maybe die cut for some floral elements or something along those lines later on, or they can come a background panel in themselves, not quite sure. So this is the point where I'm going back to the embossing. So as you can see, I didn't move the stamp, it's in the same place. I'm now just stamping it with the embossing ink, which is Versamark. I do stamp it twice because my Versamark is a little bit dry. I have bought a new one. Have I opened it? No, because this one is still sort of working. But I do need to switch it over at some point. And then I've used some gold embossing powder, and I have now coated it in that. I did use my embossing buddy before I started the embossing section just to make sure. I did end up with some sort of mucky marks around the edges, but it really doesn't matter because I'm die cutting it out, as you can see. Now, I have a little bit of a malfunction here. I also have a bit of a not quite sure what I'm doing in my head moment, because I contemplated doing something a little bit more fun-foldy. And then changed my mind. Anyway, couldn't get the tape to stick, so I did end up getting a different washi tape out that hopefully holds the die in place a little better, so it doesn't shift when it goes through the machine. You'll see that I did cut the panel into halves so that it was easier to go through the die cut machine as well, and just die cut them out. And you'll see, I mean, I don't know how well you can see, but the actual watercolouring looks so much better. So I decided I was going to use this sort of, I think it's Rich Raspberry. If it's not Rich Raspberry, it's Blackberry Bliss. Either of those, neither of them are available anymore from Stampin' Up, but it's my favourite kind of colours in the Stampin' Up range was this and Island Indigo, and they don't exist anymore, which is really sad. But I've still got quite a lot of the Blackberry Bliss left, but I actually think that was Rich Raspberry. Who knows? I decided to use that as my card base, and then I embossed the front half with, I think it's called Painted Texture. Again, an old embossing folder from Stampin' Up. And this is me now deciding, no, I am going to put them flat on, but I'm going to raise this second one up on foam pads and have them overlap. I had a few different layout ideas I was fiddled with, and you'll have watched me do that, but this was what I ended up doing. So you'll see I'd used a little bit of a pencil mark just to indicate where I knew I didn't need to put any adhesive, and then I am putting a lot of foam pads on just so it's A, secure, and B, so it doesn't sag. It's actually a very thick cardstock, this, so it's unlikely to sag, so it will be fine. I didn't feel the need to double up the die cuts like I sometimes do. But you'll see that I did leave some bits off the edge. I've decided I'm just going to put this in a 5x7 envelope. It's a normal C6 card, but I'm going to just put it in a bigger envelope because I didn't want to chop the little bits off the edge. Obviously, if you want to put it in a standard envelope, fair enough, just chop the end bits off. So I splattered it with some champagne ink, which is kind of sparkly. It's like a shimmer ink. Again, I've had that ink for ages and ages and ages. So I splattered it with that and then sort of left it off to dry. And now I'm working on the sentiment. And the sentiment, I decided on this one from Altenew, and it's like a dotty type texture stamp. Big background stamp, but it's got some sentiment stamps at the bottom. And I decided on just this simple best wishes. I wanted it in that kind of tealy colour just to bring out the colours from the leaves a little bit more, rather than keeping it all to the pinky colours. Now, I did raise this up with a few pieces of the cardstock, so it's very dimensional underneath, so just those strips of cardstock that were offcuts, and then I do put a foam tab just at the bottom on the right hand side because that's hanging off that floral element. And then I decided that was pretty much it. I put an insert inside the card because it's a dark coloured cardstock, and I always like to do that so you've got something easy to write on. If I'd have been thinking, I might have restamped the floral image on that, maybe in the Sahara sand again, but I didn't. But I decided with all the splattery sparkle and those raised die cuts, it was jobs a good one. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please do give me thumbs up if you did. Please pop a comment in below. It really helps with other people seeing the videos that you like to see, and it helps promote their channel, so that'd be really lovely. Please subscribe, and until next time, bye bye.